moving towards our first panel discussion about new age technologies in the work from home regime. We have amongst us Rajkamal Vempati, EVP and Head HR Axis Bank, Prasad Rajappan, CEO ZingHR, Kaushik Chakrobarty, Director HR Savills India, Anjali Chatterjee, Head People and Culture Air Asia India, Kartik Radia, Managing Partner Mazars India. We have the session chair, Sonya, with us. Over to you, Sonya.
It's great to be on the panel, and we've got an eclectic panel of people from diverse backgrounds. I think we will have some very interesting conversations and takeaways here. So we will kickstart the virtual conference by Business World, and it's a great topic to start with because I think in this pandemic, what we've experienced is something that we've never experienced before. This is truly the VUCA world, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. A world where organizations have stayed afloat because of technology. And we are talking technology here. We've learned a lot in 6 months. This session aims to raise some questions of where technology can support us and further improve us. Especially so because this world has changed for good. We will be moving to a blended format of working where flexibility to work from home will be a given and outcomes will be the way to go. So it's really a change that is here to stay, and we would like to kind of talk about how technology can support us. So what I've done is I've actually for every question set a context in terms of a scenario to really bring alive the problem statement, right? My first question is going to the panel now, and it's really about the biggest challenges that the HR leaders are facing today from work from home regime, where you need to balance employee experience and you really need to balance the company objectives as well. So to the panel, what are some of the things that you've done initially to manage this, the situation, and how is it that you are seeing it change, right? It's been 6 months, there have been learning curves. How are we seeing this change? And just in terms of a situation that I'm throwing you off with to support this question is, imagine an employee who's got into a call at about 6:30 and the call gets extended to 7:38. He's a dad and he was planning to get a pizza going for his kids. They're all waiting at the table. So while flexibility at work has been empowered by technology, what is it that we can do to make sure that the work and personal life spaces are not blurred? So over to you, and I'll start the question with Anjali. Anjali, your thoughts on that?
Hi. So there are two questions. One, and the first 2 months of complete lockdown between 25th March and 25th May. I think Asia being a highly tech company by itself, 90% of our employees are at the airports or the aircraft and don't have laptops. So everything goes by a mobile phone. So we use technology workplace like Facebook and WhatsApp. So all our communication goes through workplace by Facebook. But what we did is we realized that because we have all the 90%, they're all youngsters, right? They're aged between 18 to 30 or something. They needed to be connected on a daily basis. So we had technology, but which was a science of it, but we also needed the human touch, right? People need human touch. And I think as the world goes, next 20, 30 years, it'll be a mix of science and art, which will come together. Science coming from technology and art coming from human empathy and emotions. So we form clusters of people led by cluster leads who will be in touch with every employee every single day. Starting with loads of empathy. How are you doing? Who all are staying with you? Are you staying alone or with your family? How are you feeling? How's the health? And also planning a day for them, because if it's a holiday and you can go out, then you love the holiday. But if it's a holiday and if there's no work and you're sitting at home and doing nothing, you like to be engaged. So apart from being in touch with them, setting up some learning agendas, which are continuous learning process, setting learning agendas, and again connecting them the evening ones with some fun or yoga exercises, so that they start the meeting with loads of empathy, and between the learning ending with loads of fun. So I think that really worked in our favor. And as we go through, we have partially opened. We continue telling managers and we keep training managers on the whole way of showing empathy, right? So giving people the space, and even if you work late, give that break for 1 hour, come back again. And I think that is really helping people a lot, and we keep emphasizing that. I think today, and I'll just end one thing which is still people are concerned about is not coming to office. Like we do have people go to airports, but we have the 10-15% of finance, HR, IT coming to office, and they're really waiting to come back to office, having the option. But I think they all appreciate. We do, quick, checks, like small 5%, how you feeling. I think they really love this empathy and the connect they have every day. That's it.
Right.
What we do well.
Great, Anjali. Thanks. Empathy is the keyword that I take away from you, and that's kind of taking people forward. I think that's
Yeah.
here to stay, and we will talk about it as we move forward. Kaushik,
So-
over to you.
Which goes along with technology. That's what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely, absolutely. Technology will be the enabler. You still need you need emotions at the end of the day. It's very, very important. Kaushik, over to you, please. What are your thoughts on this? How did you react? How are you changing? What's happening? Yeah, Kaushik, I'm moving the question to you. And the question was, how did you as an organization manage such a VUCA situation that we are all in? And what are the things that have worked for you to balance employee experience and the business objectives? And what is changing? It's been almost 6 months. Your view on that?
As an organization, we already had certain technological platform, which was available. We are in the service industry, and every employee, for example, has a laptop. So, these were some of the advantages probably we had compared to a manufacturing setup or, a different kind of an industry. So one of the things, which we realized is many of the platform which was already there in place. For example, say we had a Facebook workplace platform, the MS Teams platform, the Zoom platform, the various, and which is true with many organizations. But many of these platforms were not used as much as it should have been. I think one of the things that we really planned well right from the beginning was how do we quickly get into all the platforms which were already there, and take advantage in terms of connecting to those platforms. So a few things that we did, right from the right in the beginning was ensuring that people feel connected to the organization in every possible way. Other than the regular sessions that managers are supposed to take with their teams. For example, every week we had a CEO town hall happening. Okay, so that really cleared the air. Any questions that people had, it created a space of empathy, a space of communication, and it cleared any questions that anybody has. Few things we also did was, for example, every day at 4 p.m. we had a lockdown learning session. Okay, it was an internal learning session going live the way we are going live right now by any of the employee on a subject which matters to all. And we had fun sessions which were happening on Friday evening. Right from a cocktail making session to our jam session, music jam sessions by employees. So that way, what we actually felt was, and I think that's something which is very important for people to understand, that with increasingly something which is very, very important. So that's something which we tried doing from day one. And today, I think we are in a scenario, the usage of many of the platforms of connectivity, that's something, which best advantage that we had was we used the beginning or start of the lockdown, we used the various platforms which was available very effectively. I think that's something which is critical. And then, that becomes a seamless process to come.
Great. Again, engagement in terms of always on by way of town halls and making sure you're all connecting by way of your employee network, which is workplaces. Prasad, opening it to you. you actually represent the tech platform, right? And what is it that people have come back to you in terms of post-COVID area? I mean, everything is good. There's technology, there's AI. How do you bring in this whole bit of empathy into the software? Very keen to understand that.
Yep. Yeah, I think, Sonia, what happened is, if you look from a corporate perspective, what has hit us hard, corporate started worrying, is there business continuity? Is the revenues going to stay? So what we realized, the same are the problems for each individual. Is the job going to be there? Are there going to be salary cuts? Am I going to be retained? So when we have more than 1 million employees using our platform, and we have various customers from banking to pharma to retail. The biggest concern people came about is, we have been able to reach to the people through a lot of those tools what we talked of, but how do I enable people to reach back to us? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it has to be two-way communication. In management, we say it has to be two-way communication, and many of these tools allow you to reach to employees. But many of these employees were not able to, whether it's the social media or all those groups or Facebook and all. Well, how do I ensure that the employees are able to reach? How do you know that they are not shy enough to say, I got a problem at home? How do I say that my father is ill and I need help? How do I say I've run out of money, I need loans? So I think the biggest thing people can I make a mechanism for them to come back? Yeah, that is one. The second thing, what we realized was, in office, we create a workspace for people, how many cubic space and all those things. And now all of a sudden we have taken that out. And the biggest concern, the biggest people who are the stakeholder was the family. So people came back and say, how do I get the families in? Because families have now to support, allow the wife or husband or daughter or son to allow to speak. So people came, do you have technology on that? Can you create employees to the families to be connected? And that was very heartening to see. Sonia, I would say, like in the real time of crisis, the real character of organizations came out. Real characteristics of people came out and saying, we care for you. And I think technology, all those technologies are there, whether right from the face recognitions and all those things. But what really mattered is the intent to connect both ways. And then the technology followed, whether it was a WhatsApp equivalent or it's a SMS equivalent. I think it mattered a lot. The other thing which came out very clearly was, and people said, let me measure what people are doing. A lot of people did that mistake. Okay, so and I think our answer to them was, look at the purpose you're looking at, not the means. Okay, you don't have control of people. You don't have a 9 to 5 working and clock in, clock out, and all of a sudden you started believing people. So I think we started talking to people. I said, why are you measuring time? Why are you measuring face recognition? Why are you doing geofencing? Can you look at the purpose for their look at? Can we look at lead indicators? And a lot of tools. I can make it talk later on. But a lot of people, the most of HR people have come back and said, and when I'm saying HR, in my definition, HR is spreading across the country, across organizations. We had CEOs, CFOs, CIOs, all coming back. We care for our people. How do I connect with them? How do I ensure that they are safe? How do I ensure that they're productive? How do I ensure that their families are taken care of? So those are the things which has come out, which is very encouraging, Sonia, in terms of how human beings have really come back to this challenge.
Right. Prasad, absolutely. I can't agree more. I mean, it's really about how I would say CHROs and HR leaders have actually become frontline warriors navigating this difficult situation in terms of actually taking organizations forward, and fantastic job done, I would say, fantastic. I'll move this question to Rajkamal. Rajkamal, it will be interesting to understand because you're in a services business. You have a blended model. You have people who need to go into the bank irrespective, much like Anjali's organization, where people have to go and deliver their service. And then you have the back office, right? Support functions where there is flexibility. So what happened? How did you manage it? Banking, money was extremely important, right? It couldn't stop. So tell us very quickly about how did you manage this?
Good morning, everyone. I think interesting insights from all the panelists. But for us, it was a different experience altogether. We were never shut down. The banking services, as I said, we were out there at the front, and that had to continue. What I think and I would like to just talk about our experience in 2 3 phases. The first phase, as you rightly said, was BCP, just business continuity plan, and any business continuity plan, has an end date, right? And this was a crisis that really doesn't seem to have an expiry date. So initially, the question really we were asking is, can work really happen? Especially as we worked on the BCP planning on 2 fronts, which is getting people in the branches, rostering them, and ensuring that minimal risks are maintained, because it's ultimately a people risk issue. And at the back end, looking at the large administrative offices, all the teams who support the frontline warriors, trying to get them to work from home. And it's been a novel experience for us. We had an app, we had all the technology platforms, but I must say the adoption that we saw in like 1 week's time, or maybe overnight, adopting to MS Teams, your app downloads, processes being changed, everything happened overnight. So one of the things I think big insights was, change management. Whenever we are in constraint, people will adopt, embrace. We actually overnight changed our learning models as well. So one thing is that phase, which is can work really happen, I think was a good phase, but it went away very, very quickly. So the stigma of working from home, it wasn't as if people were wondering, can work really happen? Let me put a productivity tool, because we were seeing things were happening seamlessly. People were sitting in the branches and managing the customer interface, as well as at the back end at home. People were, and we were one of the largest banks who kind of moved their operations at a large scale, work from home. Even our treasury offices, we were able to do that through technology enablers. Especially, our constraint was also the regulated industry, data security and privacy and everything else. But I think from an HR perspective, we moved too quickly the second phase. As in, it was an opportunity, especially managers having learned the habit of people being able to work. We said, okay, how do we look at the next phase, which is reshaping HR or reshaping work? Frankly speaking, as everyone said, this was, as office has spilled into our homes, emotions have spilled back to the workplace. It's been an interesting paradox. And everybody's talking about, you've got to be extremely digital. And I get extremely human. And in the digital world, one of the things that we learned is, especially as people are working from home, any interaction, if it's not seamless, if it's not built seamlessly for internal customers, it is bad experience. It has to be like 100% seamless and 100% without escalations, right? Which in a physical world, you will call up a person, you will speak to a person, it's okay. But here, there's no room for error. That's one. The second thing is, most of the stuff has to be on self-service. People have to embrace being able to manage things on their own. So a lot of coordinator roles also, in terms of how the work construct is maintained and managed. We've got to re-look at that. Third, I think we quickly realized so many conference calls that are happening. It's also because initially we were trying to get into a cadence. So work that as it exists is not that structured, is a little bit unplanned, and that took a bit of time. But from an HR perspective, I think one of the things that we fundamentally kind of anchored ourselves around is, typically whenever people work from home, we said, okay, there is an office, there's people working from home, and there's a bridge, a technology bridge to kind of log into the systems which are at the office server. How can your mobile be your workplace? Your mobile increasingly has to be a workplace, so that you're agnostic of where you are, whether you're in physical world or in the virtual world, sitting on your couch or bed or dining table, wherever. So that's the plan that we are kind of re-architecting ourselves to.
Great. Rajkamal, in the interest of time, I'm going to move this a little more faster. I really wanted views from each one of you in terms of how did you manage and what you did. I think in terms of technology as an enabler, and that's what we are talking, we need to be custodians of time and the space that our employees want. Why can't we leverage technology for people to enable blockers, to say, I'm not available right now. So that is a situation that one could possibly look at moving forward. I'm going to move to the next question very quickly, and I'm going to start with you, Kartik, and we're going to be having few of us address the question. So I'm going to call out on each one of you basis the question and the kind of background you're coming from. So my next question to the panelists really is, we're becoming very tech dependent. I mean, the screen times have gone off the roof. The amount of time you're spending for personal entertainment or you're spending in terms of work it's unreal, right? At the same time, there are certain situations that you can only create when people are together. They are together in a hackathon. They are together in terms of a strategic meeting. They are together in terms of a huddle that has just happened, right? How do you recreate that environment in a tech-driven world? And cut to this a situation. Visualize yourself for an annual meeting that's all set to happen in Goa. You're all in greasy shirts, all set lazy to kind of define the next moves that the company will make. So over to you, Kartik. What are you doing in terms of collaboration, in terms of innovation, in terms of jamming, in terms of energy? What is it that you're bringing?
So there are essentially two parts to this, Sonia. Using technology in the work life, and while I think most of the other panelists have covered how some of the tools are being used, I think important part is also to connect with people without purpose. I mean, without any agenda, without any business agenda, and things like get-togethers or offsites or lunches with the teams really help. It is also important that from a work from home perspective, I mean the face-to-face experience is always different, from the work from home office environment. And while this is going to become more or less a permanent culture and the way of life, the work from home allowances for employees, where we are saving on the infrastructure, how do we bring them the virtual experience of live working from office, as if virtually they're working from office while they're staying at home. So what kind of infrastructure they need to have, what kind of virtual experience that could be created here. I think that is very important, which is the first part. The second part is almost every business needs to have, in the times like this, because it has impacted almost everybody, is to have a people-centric business plan, which keeps people at the center of your business plan. And therefore, it is important to extensively and intensively communicate, in the form of town halls, as to what the revised business plan is looking like, and how are we going to navigate, and what is in there for each and every employee at various levels. What is in there for him as a connecting point into the new business plan. And as I said,
I will take you, since we are short on time. I have a very good takeaway from you, and that is how can we compensate our employees in terms of allowances, and how can we recreate that in terms of their comforts of home. So fantastic point. I will take this to Anjali. Anjali, what is it that you're doing in terms of training, development, SOP? How is the energy flowing? How are you making it possible in the virtual world? Just key takeaways, please.
Yeah. The key takeaways, we continue doing so through Zoom and apps.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah, continue doing so Zoom and app, but smaller sessions, right? You wouldn't have 30, you'll have probably 15 or 10 with enough breaks, so that there's a lot of one-on-one. So, and I think, learning became digital long time back, but we took time to, embrace it. And I think now we're forced to embrace it, and it's working really well. All our SOP updates, all our revised customer services training, revised customer service manual, all done through Zoom calls and technology, but with smaller groups and enough breaks. And it's really working well. And, it's amazing how this has worked so well. And I think classroom learning is finished for good, whether we like it or not. So that's really just because that was more engagement process. This is a real, and you really see people making effort and doing that learning.
So great, Anjali. You were able to do it very successfully. I also feel, since you said that part of it had already moved online, it seems seamless. But for me, I still like to go to my yoga class and my session and have my trainer tell me, hey, don't do this, do that, right?
Yeah, but we have online yoga classes also, right? But with smaller groups, so that you just check everyone how they're managing. So I do my yoga online with the trainer who's sitting in Bangalore in Bombay, and I just make sure that our things are good. So but with this, you have access to more resources. When you have one-on-one, you have one. But now if I go to YouTube, there's so much out there you can choose. see the benefits of it, right? There's so much content out there, some amazing stuff coming up. So now I need not look for a trainer in Bombay who charges me 2 times. I have this trainer from Bangalore who charges me less and he's better maybe. So your options.
There's a difference. We are a very different demographic profile. We like our comforts, but there's yet another demographic profile which likes to be together and huddle together. Over to you, Prasad. A tech company, always on hackathons, always tech forward. How are you getting the energy through virtual collaboration? And very quickly, please.
I think what we did, Sonya, was to almost redefine the purpose. I think what I feel, I think we've been all caught in the means, and we lost the purpose. So hackathon was that was just a means to come together. But if you can define the really higher purpose of saying innovation, some breakthrough, path-breaking innovation, and once we create that purpose large, this means doesn't matter whether you are physical or not. And I think the problem is when we don't have the purpose cleared, we are looking at all those small means. So we termed a call called outcomeation. We're saying let us look at the outcomes, not look at the means of doing it. And I think a lot of our things, I think organizations have cut down a lot on lean thought process. This is not important. This is just a means of achieving a purpose. Let me go to the purpose. So whether it's a get-togethers, now what we have done, we have elevated our product team saying this is a breakthrough innovation we have to do. And then that's taken over. Doesn't matter whether they're in office or not. So my key point is focus on the purpose, not the means, and look at the outcomes.
I would still want the allowances like Kartik is giving. So think about that. How do you?
If that's a purpose, I think we should give. If that's a purpose people are looking at, I think we should take care of that.
Sure. My take on this, because we've been always marketing and looking at new ideas for our clients, would be really to recreate that feel of an offsite. I would possibly create augmented virtual reality and avatars where I can be in my beachy hat and I enter, and then the hackathon is happening, right? So technology at its best now for HR and for our people. I'm going to move to the next question, and the question really is in line with the earlier question. How do you bring alive the spirit, the vibe of an organization sitting remotely? The water cooler conversations, the cafe conversations, the breakout areas. We are moving out just chilling, right? And context to this, a scenario. You are hiring a senior leader, right? You want to talk about the vibe. You want to let him experience the vibe of the company. You bring him to a loungy place in your office. There is aromas of coffee and there is jazz music playing at the back. How do you recreate this? Kaushik, over to you. How do you recreate these, the vibe of an organization in a virtual environment?
I think, firstly, today, in some form or the other, most organization or the organization that many of us represent here are in a hybrid model. In the sense, you do have people working from home, and there is also people who are going to office. Okay, for example, for that matter, we have a roster mechanism, where alternate weeks employee get in the office, and we started opening up our offices from May onwards. Okay, now one of the things, for example, we did right in the beginning was virtual water cooler moments. We paired people. That was all in the lockdown time. But one of the things that we have started doing now, and has been there in practice for last couple of months, is every win, every wins that we had in terms of new clients, business inroads, we were celebrating it in our office. Okay, and that was getting live telecasted. For example, if there's a win in Delhi by the Delhi team, there's a cake cutting or whatever. There's a smaller ceremony, even if there are 3-4 people who are there. So that is getting celebrated in the office, virtually being telecasted through our platform across all offices. So every small little things we ensured gets celebrated, and that actually made people feel connected to normalcy. That made people feel that, oh yes, things are working out to a very large extent the way it was, and people want to hear good news. That's very important in these times, and ensure that all of it gets communicated. One thing we did was the event show that we did for all our employees, and we never thought that we have such great talent within the organization. There are so many great painters came out, dancers came out. I mean, all kinds of talents, got discovered in our organization. So there are various ways and means that we tried doing where people feel connected. In fact, one more thing, since you spoke about offsite and all, we have an annual strategy session of the management team that happens, and we are an organization that's trying to set it up in India for last couple of years. So we have been having a annual conference with a very senior consultant who comes from Australia. We continued doing it in this summer as well, and actually the outcome was far better. In fact, everybody are innovating their own ways of giving better outcomes through the virtual media. So our actually management team annual connect happened, and even the strategy session that happens with a international consultant, that also happened, and it actually gave us far better outcome this time. So what I'm trying to say is, I think everybody is the virtual world is a reality. Through technology, you need to find ways and means to create that heart-to-heart connect, and there has to be that right hybrid of virtual as well as real-time connect.
Fair enough. Kaushik, taking away from you the live telecast, I think that was a brilliant idea. If I was to give a tech relevant answer to a problem statement of how do you recreate the environment, I would possibly again use augmented reality, beam myself into the office, and maybe the tech stalwarts will get the smell and the aromas going, and there we are physically apart, but we are together in the environment that's pretty much the office. So thank you for that. I will take the last question, which is really about employee experience is extremely, extremely important. Your values are very, very important. Values shine during times like this, right? So my question to you is, productivity levels. We as a country, we have gone to offices, and I know a lot of these sectors primarily, which were never used to work from home culture, right? And everything was like a swipe in and a swipe out, and everything was measured. So my question to the panelists is, what is it that you're doing in terms of measuring productivity? Is it relevant in these times? And is it technology enabled? So my question, I will start with Anjali this time. Anjali, your thoughts on that. How do you make sure that you trust your employees? That's the value you uphold, whereas you have productive matrix as well to manage. Over to you.
When I passed out of preschool, 25, 30 years back, you learn something called management by objectives, right? And every company starts priding themselves management by objectives, but actually, a part of management by objectives, they're also checking what am I coming, what am I going, and all that. So I think that's gone. We are coming to pure management by objectives. So one of the things we did is really, we have an annual goals and recreated goals, half yearly, quarterly, weekly, and I do myself with my team, and weekly goals and weekly, things what we're supposed to do. And our daily huddles, like every morning, I have a connect with my team, and everybody has a connect with their team. What are things to do today? What are things to complete for the week? And then, we have meetings with the CEO. So I think it's management objective is showing up in its truest form ever. So I learned it 30 years back, and you learn so much of it, but today is the truest form, because you're not seeing, whether how the person looking or what she's wearing or what time he's coming, what time he's going, how long is the lunch. And honestly, we have to stop looking whether she's doing a lunch for 1 hour or 1.5 hours or 2 hours. Don't care. Whether she has to, they have to go, do some schooling for the children, don't care. As long as the deliverables, the daily, weekly, monthly deliverables are coming up, I think that's what we should be really proud about. And it's working for us. And because of the lockdown, people are wanting to show more productivity, right? There is a will, and because at home, I'm saying that we had a lot of those coffee conversations. I've realized that I have been the most productive ever in my lifetime. Because what happens at work, there's a lot of socialization. Someone coming to your desk, let's go for coffee, let's go for lunch. And at work, a lot of times, I'm working late because during the day, I'm doing so much socialization, the actual work starts at 6 o'clock. But that is gone, and there are pros and cons of everything. There are no,
So, Anjali, just to understand, are you telling us that it's about outcomes and not about measuring productivity? Okay, I'll take this question.
Outcomes. It's measuring outcomes. Yes.
Absolutely.
That's
Kartik,
exactly
your views on this? And very quickly, because we are kind of short on time, where are we moving in terms of measuring swipe cards, scan cards, in, out, time, all of that? Now you're all at home and free to do what you want to. What is it that you're doing?
So to a very large extent, I agree with what Anjali just mentioned about management by objectives and results. I think almost every employee is connected to some or the other form of the results or outcomes that he's supposed to deliver. Having said that, because you're not able to meet face to face, where you could influence a lot of actions by way of direct communication, and since that is not happening, and every time you can't be connected to all the people, so it is also important to measure productivity through some automated tools, and it is important to take care of privacy, without compromising the privacy, and with being fully transparent. It may make sense, at least for some of the repetitive processes, to measure some kind of productivity in terms of login time and logout time, and that is doable through various tools, host of tools that are available, in many ways this was already being done even prior to this environment. But in the environment where we are working from home, I think it will make sense for repetitive processes to at least see not just the outcomes, but also whether employees are working and they are trying their level best to deliver in given situation and circumstances. And productivity tools, they are online tools sitting on your machine that will measure and give you the output, but taking care of privacy and being fully transparent.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll take this to Rajkamal. Rajkamal, productivity, banking scenario, what's happening? And you're saying that people are flexible to come in and go out. Where do you think this is going?
So I think clearly outcomes rule right now. And, also especially as you're looking at the workplace, I think there is space for us to understand people will struggle. So we have a concept called silent hour. We have a concept of 7-up. After, you talked about conference calls after certain time. You're saying, you've got to be very, very respectful of time. You're saying weekend don't have calls, so weekend your way. If you're giving all this, at least putting guidelines to this, the productivity of saying clocking in, clocking out time, I think is dead. You are just concerned about the outcomes, and that's what you need to work towards and architect yourself. So that's my
right. Great. I will put a question out in terms of how do you wish to leverage technology? What is your wish list from technology going forward? We cited a lot of cases in terms of still some spaces where technology is going to really has to go manyfold and help us as organizations and to empower you as leaders. Kaushik, what is your ask from technology? What is that one thing that you would want technology to make possible? Kaushik, can you hear me?
I personally feel in many forms, for example, artificial intelligence, things which is visible in our day-to-day existence today. I mean, whether you're using an app, if you're doing a Google search, you actually see how artificial intelligence is playing its role. Now the point is that what extent really in most organizations playing its role in terms of gauging what is the level of engagement of employees, what exactly is the mind frame of each and every employee, some data coming in through artificial intelligence. I think there's a lot which need to happen in that area. We are at a very, very nascent stage.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. Engagement is the buzz. I mean, you need to keep your employees engaged and you want employees to do that. Sorry, but I'll move it on to Prasad. Prasad, just very quickly, what is the wish list from technology? What is it that you would want at this moment?
I think technology has to ensure that there is productivity, not activity. But the activity is not productivity. And I think as a human cycle, as a human being, we all wants to be praised, but we get appraised. Okay, we get measured. I think if technology can allow me to do what I like and still meet my purpose and the organizational purpose and create the outcomes, it'll be great.
Great. Moving on to Kartik. In one word, phrase, what is it that you want from technology today?
Yeah.
Kartik?
Smart digital virtual workplace. Smart digital virtual workplace where I can really believe that I'm in office virtually, even though not.
Fair enough,
Visualizing almost everyone.
Fair enough, Kartik. I got the drift. Virtual workplace feels like office. And I think we are running out of time. But Rajkamal and Anjali, just 3 words. What do you want from technology as of today? Very, very quickly.
Okay. More reality in virtual
Fantastic.
reality.
More reality in virtual reality. I love that. Rajkamal?
Community and culture in the virtual world.
My God, I think it's just so wonderful to see leaders like you really talking about and looking at technology in terms of how can it really bring alive the employee experience you've always looked at creating at a physical workplace. I think the takeouts for us have been great, and there is a lot that we can do to make our workplaces really virtually compassionate with empathy. And at the end of the day, the outcomes that you're looking at is, at the end of the day, a very happy employee, because employees today are definitely going to be your competitive advantage going forward. This is the world for emotions to be human. It's all about moving from shareholder benefits that you are creating to essentially stakeholders like employees. So thank you very much. You were a fantastic panel, and thank you Exchange for Business World for having us together. We are all looking forward to technology enabling future workplaces. Over to you.
Thank you, panel. That was very insightful. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to join the online conversations by using #BWPeopleDialogue. You can also watch us live on www.bwpeople.in or on facebook.com/BW Business World.